Welcome to this episode of the ElectroNeek Podcast, where we bring you the latest information in RPA and tell you how you can build, sell, and support your automation service business. So let's jump right into it.
Howdy, hey, it's Randy. How are you all this afternoon?
Randy is in the house. How are you?
Doing well. I appreciate you guys' time today.
Appreciate, Randy, why you're coming in and talking about kind of the things that you're doing as you're going to help us with crafting this success story with us and some of the things that you're doing. And I know that you have some great stories to tell. And I want to make sure that we introduce ourselves. So my name is Kendall Matthews. You probably heard of me from Monica way back in the day. Appreciate talking face to face with you and going over some of the great things that I know that you've done, and then talk about also some of the internal use cases that you're doing as well. And so these first set of questions, Randy, are background questions. So please describe your responsibilities, job title, and how long have you been with the company?
Yeah, I'm the founder and owner of the company. Been here coming up on 2 years. So it was started back in 2021. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer. So as a small organization, wear a lot of hats. So including marketing and a lot of different things. So that's my job description in a nutshell. Responsible for everything and accountable for everything. So, yeah.
And how many employees are in your company, and how many locations do you have?
Yeah, we're out of Virginia, and most of our employees are actually in Thailand. So we've got 4 folks over there. I have a business partner and friend who runs a IT company in Thailand with like 1,100 employees, and we've stood up a little automation group over there. However, I would like, my goal for Q3, Q4 this year is to start to expand our resource footprint here stateside with a solutions architect and a sales and marketing person. I know they're hard to mix those two, but one or the other, or maybe one of each. So hopefully we'll continue that trajectory and be able to hit those goals.
And did you start with automation expertise, or is ElectroNeek your first automation offering?
Yeah, it's interesting. My background is in IT. I've got a degree in accounting information systems, so kind of a business IT nerd. Started out on the IT side. I was a consultant for Deloitte, and then bounced over IT operations, a VP of operations. So a little bit of experience on both sides of the house. And during my journeys, has seen how frustrated the business owners get about these death by 1,000 cuts, little incessant, repetitive, like mosquito bites every day. But IT's, treating malaria, they don't have time to fool with that. Oh, we're getting a new ERP system. We'll get back to you on that. So, I've been aware of automation for many years as an executive in other organizations, but, from an SME perspective, even $100 million, $200 million company 8 years ago, it's like, oh man, we can't afford that. We can't make the ROI work because we can just throw more people at it. The labor savings weren't there. So, with ElectroNeek and, a lot of the solutions today, lowering the bar, I got excited about that. So I'm able to fill some of those voids, treat some of those cuts, and, certainly help some businesses and people, execute it at their highest and best use. You see just a lot of folks all day just grinding it out, not being who they really can be. So we get a lot of satisfaction about elevating, people to be who they can be and get away from the mundane and repetitive.
And what challenges did you face in your operation as you're expanding and looking at how to do this right for your clients?
Yeah, I think, initially, since we were new into automation, we didn't want to get ahead of our skis and fail on the delivery side. We've gotten, knock on wood, pretty comfortable on the delivery side. So now it's just a matter of marketing and selling is our current push. And, I thought, you hang an automation sign up and folks will come running. There is a lot of interest, but it takes work just like anything else, right? No success overnight. And we spend a lot of time evangelizing, which I enjoy. Rarely, if ever, do I call in somewhere or talk to someone in the C-suite and they say, we already got a guy. They always say, what are you talking about? So you always have to start back at the front end and then work it through. It extends the sales cycle, but it's a rewarding journey. I had a CEO ask me a while back, after I went through my spiel, he goes, all right, I just got one question for you. He said, do your bots have legs or wheels? Because we have steps coming into our building. It's like, there's software robots. Let's start over. Okay. Oh, now I get it. So always some challenges. But, again, I would much rather bring folks along in that journey of understanding as opposed to, we already got a guy that does that. Can you do it cheaper or faster and, hang the phone up. So, that's our primary challenge right now is just, focusing on business development, expanding our pipeline and our opportunities and, forging out into different segments, right? That old adage, people say, well, what's your specialty? And then you say, well, do you find your specialty or does your specialty find you? And, I don't know the way to get there, but it seems as though accounting services has found us as a specialty. We've had some good success with CPA firms, and my background with Deloitte has helped in that regard. And CPAs get it. I mean, you say RPA and they're all over it. They've been talking about it for 10 years. So that's, if we can find some verticals to really dig deep in, I think is really going to be the key to success as we continue to grow. The good thing about automation is any company that has a computer can use it. The bad thing about automation is any company that has a computer can use it because you end up chasing squirrels all day long and get down through a lot of dead ends that aren't as productive as if you were in one vertical being successful and reusing solutions that you've deployed for others.
That's a good point. We're talking about creating something and deploying for others if you've already done it. Have you done a lot of internal automations for your team and your company first, or how's that journey looking?
Yeah, I mean, we stand up bots all the time for little irritating and larger irritating things that help us from an operational perspective. We built a Google dashboard that monitors all of our automations. All of our bots check in there and say, here was my last run. Here's how many records are updated. And then we've got triggers on the back end bolted to that. And if it doesn't hear from a bot in the time allotted since its last run, it sends an automatic ticket into our support team. So we're not always checking up on bots because we have some that are attended, some are unattended, some are on Orchestrator, some are on Windows Scheduler. So they all check back into air traffic control there, and we can just monitor them from a dashboard. That was a huge savings because the last thing you want is a client telling you a bot didn't want to run or had an issue, right? You want to get in front of that. So that tremendously helped us to do that. And now we're standing up some automations, got some integrations from LinkedIn over to Salesforce, it's transferring data and entering in new prospects and some different things to help us out internally. Not only does it help us from an efficiency perspective, it gives us some experience with the tool.
Gotcha. And talk a little bit more about, so you created the Google dashboard bots. How much time did that save you? What was that look like? Did it save you people time, hours time, resources? What kind of headaches did that resolve?
Yeah, I mean, it enables us to take a reactive or I guess a proactive approach to monitoring the bots. So no news is good news. So if that thing doesn't say, well, I've had an issue, we know everything's running fine. So you can, we actually have the dashboard on our phones so we can quick check in. Okay, everything ran fine today. It also helps us stay in front of calls from clients. Did this run? Did this not run? And we actually stand up dashboards for specific automations for our clients so they can monitor and see, how things are doing and hours and labor savings as well off of those different dashboards. So from an operational perspective, it allows us not to worry so much about the support side. It automatically takes care of itself when something throws a rod on the automation side. So that's been huge.
It sends tickets if initial. So you created bots to monitor bots.
Yeah, right. Bots that monitor bots, and then only as a last resort you get a human involved. I mean, we've got functionality in that dashboard. Most of the time, if an automation doesn't run, you can usually just kick it again. A lot of these nightly extracts we run, you can usually run it again and it'll get by whatever it was getting hung on. So the bots will actually monitor that, see it didn't run and kick it, tell it to run again. So it'll run a second, a third, a fourth time. And if it runs 4 times and doesn't have success, it says, hey guys, it sends a ticket in. I tried 3 times. It's broken. You need to look. So that saved us some headaches as well.
And you also did the LinkedIn sales bot. So you created a bot and for internal use to scrape LinkedIn. Is that what you did?
Yeah. I mean, we've got a tool that semi-scrapes LinkedIn, but it really didn't connect over to Salesforce very well. So we kind of got a bot that takes that scrape data and pushes it over into Salesforce to just set up some prospecting, and I'm getting ready to, we're thinking about standing up a bot that'll integrate with some of the Trust Radius or some of the different places where you can go to research company size. It's easy to find, from a accounting services perspective, all of the state board of accountancies have their member lists online. I know Virginia does. I just pulled it the other day. So I said, hot dog, I've got 1,100 content CPA firms, but all I have is an email. I don't have the person. So we're thinking about how do we build a bot that goes out and updates that as opposed to a person, obviously looking at each of those up, very time consuming.
Now, early on, you talked about what made you choose ElectroNeek, and you saw us in the Wall Street Journal. So eating cereal. But as you started going through that process, what did it make you say, hey, this is a main advantage of ElectroNeek over other providers?
Well, not coming in with the preconceived notion or understanding, which I guess is a good thing and a bad thing, potentially. But I, knew enough about automation to be dangerous. But I think just the licensing model and the ability to service SMEs without having to worry about, covering ultimately C-suite, any of the decision makers you talk to. At the end of the day, I know there's efficiencies and risk reduction and employee engagement, but at the end of the day, it's payroll from an automation perspective, first and foremost. So if a bot's going to cost you $5,000 to automate something that you're spending $2,000 a year on, it just doesn't, a lot of times you can't get over that barrier with the client. Well, with ElectroNeek's unique licensing model, I have flexibility there to, determine what that price point is and how they deploy it. We do some fixed builds up front. We do per month. We always do subscriptions. So it gives us a lot of flexibility to play in the space.
Got it. And so this next session is about ramping up. So how long did it take you to get your first bot built?
First bot was pretty quick. That's kind of one of those hello world bots. So that was pretty easy, right? It actually took longer. The sales cycle, it took longer to sell the first bot than it did to build the first bot. I think, again, I underestimated the evangelism journey and what are you talking about? So we had to stand up, RPA for dummies and take folks through that. And here's the benefits and here's some use cases. And then once we got there, we were able to execute on our first builds, which were our most complicated. But I guess that was a good trial by fire. So, we were building bots in 2 or 3 weeks. And getting better and better every time and continue to get better there's so many ways to skin a cat on the automation front. That's what makes it fun. It's not ABCD every time. There's so many ways you can do it and makes it challenging and enables you to continue to refine your game and elevate from a professional perspective.
And how did you identify automation opportunities internally and with your clients? So how do you do that? When you talk to them, they understand that this robot doesn't have wheels or legs.
Right. There you go.
That understand. So how do you identify those opportunities for yourself and your company and for your clients?
Yeah. I think it's a journey, and it starts with talking about, we have a standard set of 10 or 12 questions, where are your pain points? Where you have where you have inefficiencies, where do you have a lot of errors, what areas of the organization can't you scale? Where do you have that one person that does that process? If they won the lottery, the business would shut down if they departed. So some questions like that and probing, and then I think getting into their specific challenges as a business. But one of the barriers there, the decision makers are the C-suite folks. And a lot of times they're not in tune with what's happening down on the front lines, that a Mary or a Steve's spending 12 hours a day manually entering invoices when those could be automated coming in. So it takes a little bit of digging to get down into some of that. But I will say, once you get in and drop that first bot in, the light bulbs go off. And we have yet to deploy an automation anywhere where they stopped with one. It's always, oh yeah, how about this? Or let's talk about that. So I encourage folks to start in the shallow end of the pool with a POC, and I know from there they'll be able to grow. All the time they want to jump into the deep end of the pool. We'll find the biggest, hairiest, nastiest process we have to automate because that's a huge ROI. Let's automate payroll every week. I was like, whoa, do you really? You don't want to start there. So that's a journey for them, but that's kind of where we start. Now, obviously, as we get into verticals, I'm starting to, I know the pain points. Hey, this process, it really stinks because I know you have these two systems and you're manually keying data in there. We can stand up a bot to integrate that for you in, no time, a week. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let's talk about that. So, as you get more experience with some of the pain points, recurring pain points, and most organizations have them, you can speak to that with solutions. So that's helpful as we continue to grow.
Nice. I like what you said. Once you understand their pain points, you can target that with solutions and the bots for that, specific for those verticals. And so when you're doing that, do you also how would you describe the improvements in productivity by implementing that automation for yourself or for your clients? So how can you describe those improvements in productivity?
Yeah, well, certainly, again, I go back to labor savings because that's what everyone wants to go back to. And in a small business, it's not because we need to cut heads. We have too much to do. I want to redeploy this person to these 5 tasks. So, we just stood up a proposal last week that was approved yesterday. And I was working with the subject matter expert. It's like, how many hours a week do you spend doing this? She said, most of my time. So, okay, conservatively, that's 21 hours. So if I run the numbers on that with a standard, this is a customer service representative compared to the cost of automating, the ROI, less than 6 months. So, just from a labor savings standpoint, it was a no-brainer. But then you get into, again, the ability to redeploy this talented person, reduction in errors, improved customer service. This bot's going to be processing inbound orders for a manufacturing organization. So there are a lot of wins there. But typically, we'll start it out with labor savings, and then we'll get into error reduction if that's a pain point, or risk avoidance, and then the ability to redeploy, close other positions. Everybody's got open positions. Well, if you've got 5 openings, how about if we close 1 or 2 with the bot and you transition other folks into those internally? So that's another metric we're kind of tracking on the back burner.
And then, and I think you addressed this question already, but it's how do you track the utilization performance of your internal customers and automation bots? And that's using that Google dashboard that you said. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For every bot, we'll stand up metrics that either, dollars, volume, whatever they're tracking to see the win and keep a pulse on things.
Okay. Then has using the ElectroNeek platform helped you make the process of building robots more accessible to your customers and for individuals who are understanding about automation, but then once they see it, once you drop that bot on them, they get the light. But what is that process? And then ElectroNeek's platform be able to help you do that? How's that been working out?
Yeah, I think probably the benefit to ElectroNeek is there's so many activities, so many features within the tool set that you don't have to worry about. If I was a power builder guy, if they got out of the Microsoft ecosystem, I might get nervous. But, with ElectroNeek, there's so many different tool sets and opportunities to integrate with so many different things. Our first client was Finance Bot. It's like, okay, that's good. They said, yeah, then it's got to go out to a website and get some stuff. I said, okay, that's great. And said, well, then when it gets it back, it's got to key it into our AS400. I was like, oof, okay. So, our first foray into automation, we were hitting every Excel, internet, and then also terminals. So we were keying into green screens and pressing function keys and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So that having the technology stack that supported all of that is huge because we were able to stay within the ecosystem and quickly stand it up. So I know when folks are coming at us with, yeah, we can do it. That's certainly helpful as we chat with customers.
Then this next section is about for your clients. And that is, so can you provide examples of challenges that you face in your business for automation? And then what challenges do your clients face before the ElectroNeek automation? So give me more specific examples for that so we can create the story for you.
Yeah, it's the clients I've talked to, and we have clients all the way up to 700 million in size, have yet to leverage automation. They are all starting greenfields development from an automation perspective. They've tried to automate other ways without RPA and have not been successful. Their internal developers have tried to handcraft things, or they've hired an outside consulting firm to build this new tool, and that got all strung out, as you know, and scope creep and those type things. So the opportunity for us to come in and address those pain points in days or weeks as opposed to months has been a huge win for us. So I think just the ability to attend to those 1,000 cuts they all have without any relief, and to see RPA, our automation solutions able to do that very, very rapidly has been an eye-opener for all of our clients.
Perfect. And do you have any specific clients that you like or have the ability to talk about their journey? Like any specific niche?
Yeah, one of our clients, which is I think one of the videos I sent over, case study, is Brown Edwards. They're number, I think, usually 70, 75 on the largest accounting firms in the U.S. They're a mid-Atlantic regional accounting firm. And I know the CEO and met with him, and we talked about automation, and he said, okay, look, I've got a pain point, and if you can solve it, he said, I'll give you the bot challenge. If you can solve this, he says, you've got my business. I said, okay, what is it? He said, people don't enter their time in. I've got these partners, these professionals, and they don't get their time entry done every day. They have to have it done by 10 o'clock. We send invoices out on the 1st and the 15th. And if their time's not in there, that's a lost revenue. You can't go back to the client and bill 6 hours of a partner's time from last month and said lost revenue. Said, I've tried firms building custom applications and this and that. So we noodled it internally and came back and said, okay, what if we disabled their ability to send email if they didn't get their time in on time? And he's like, oof, okay, that's a big hammer. He said, that'll probably work. Let's do it. So we built a bot that's running that deactivates anybody's emails that hasn't done entered their time for the prior day. Runs every day at 10 o'clock, and then slowly lets them out of jail until midnight when they do enter their time. So pretty scary, right? From a deployment standpoint. I mean, you're owning that, and you're taking out 50 CPA professionals every morning, their ability to send email, from partners to staff accountants. But they 89% improvement in time compliance. So surprise, surprise, right? So it's worked. And that got us into another bot we just finished, which is getting us into another bot they're going to ask us for. But I know we could take that time entry solution, any accounting firm, consulting firm. I mean, that's a common pain point across a lot of organizations, just getting people to enter their darn time in. You can write them up. They tried a solution. They would deactivate their systems access. That didn't work. So that was one of the fun journeys we'd had with them. And then the light bulbs have gone off. And, the accounting sector is so understaffed. They're actually outsourcing staff accounting to India now. So, the ability to automate, and there's a lot of interest there, and they've been very supportive of us and spoke very highly with their peers. So that's been a huge win, just solving that crazy bot challenge that we started with.
Nice. No, that's great. I know that could be, it's a really good story. The next one is it's called Future Opportunities for Robots or Intelligent Automation. And so this section, and then we have a thought leadership question with that is, how would you rate your ability to provide additional bots to your clients from a scale of 1 to 10?
Additional after the first, it would be a 10.
Then what additional solutions would your clients need to be automated? And are you working on any new automation offerings?
Yeah, I think, the LLM, ChatGPT craze, just, folks, oh yeah, let's use that. Okay, well, how do you want to? Well, we don't know. So, I think it's going through that journey. We're finding use cases every day where it makes sense, use cases where it doesn't. I think as the technology expands, there are startups well behind ChatGPT. They're building out LLMs for numbers, as ChatGPT is not very good with math, but most of our clients are CFOs or financial accounting firms, and they want to have AI that can handle the numbers. So we're trying to stay out in front of that from a technology perspective, and the ability to integrate with those type solutions. And then certainly intelligent document processing, as that continues to come down. I know with the IntelliDocs solution, in the past, folks are getting all kinds of different invoices coming at them, and to do it in OCR, to handcraft it, a lot of times it didn't make sense. It's like, how much is it going to cost to build that versus how many of those invoices you get a month? 10. Well, I can just have her enter them for $100 a month. Why do I want to pay you $500 but now with IDP, much more cost effective to handle those companies that have, 500, 600, 700 invoices coming at them a month, where OCR coding manually, handcrafting each of those didn't make sense in the past. So I think that's an opportunity that's going to open up. And then the whole chatbot space. I mean, I get a lot be getting questions for that. We've looked at partnering with Core AI as far as standing up chatbots to handle for staffing agencies to handle job requisition and new hire onboarding and different things. So it's an exciting place to be. There are a lot of new technologies. It's a full-time job just to keep track of all the tools and tips and tricks, because there's going to be a lot of dead ends. I think it's just a matter of trying to navigate through that and stay ahead of the noise to give your clients, some really good, solid guidance as for where they can go with intelligent automation.
And in this field, that's a good tie into the next one. Do you consider the intelligent RPA field to be very promising for creating an IT business?
Yeah, no doubt. It's the air traffic controller for intelligent automation. To have a stable foundation that, can manage all these different pieces and integrate all these disparate parts into a cohesive solution that's, an end-to-end pain point for a client. Used to be able to get in and there's a lot of human in the loop activity or some. So hopefully you can eliminate some of that and fully lights out, automate different processes. I was reading about an early stage startup building an AI ERP system, and it's going to have a setting. Do you want it to run on 0 to 10, human intervention at 1 and complete autopilot on 10, where it'll make all the decision? Let's take this discount. Let's give them a credit. Let's go ahead and pay that, book that, close the books. So, that's where things are headed. So the ability to run a business more towards the 10 and less towards the 0 would be a huge win for an intelligent automation firm. And that's what folks are going to start looking for, no doubt.
And what kind of process automation do you see that's going to be most in demand in the short term?
Yeah, certainly from my client perspective, it's just good old-fashioned keying. One of the questions on our how to find an automation is, where do you hear the keyboards clicking? There's just so many people just banging data into Excel or keying in invoices, or, we have 5 different cloud systems and they don't talk to each other. So I got to key data here, 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 and here, or copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. I think there's a lot of runway, years of runway, just squishing those opportunities. Not to mention all the new intelligent automation opportunities that are out there. But, at the end of the day, if you can get someone off a keyboard and onto, proactively working with customers or getting engaged on real problem solving, then that's huge.
And what recommendations would you give first-time IT service providers or MSPs who want to build a successful RP business?
Yeah, I think, just like anything from a technology perspective, I think if you can straddle both sides, the technology and the business side, that's a huge win, a huge strength, especially in the automation piece, because, most of the decision makers aren't IT, they're business folks, and they don't necessarily understand JSON and JavaScript and Python, nor did they need to or want to, but you have to sit with them and say, okay, tell me about your process. Here's how it works. Here's how it could work, and translate that to the technologies piece, and then translate it back when there are issues back to the business front. So I think it's critical, someone who understands and can speak business, as well as who's technically savvy enough to certainly work with the development team and assess the technologies that you might use. I think that's a huge win in the automation space and trying to deliver solutions to customers.
And so have you taken advantage of the new ElectroNeek products like the Ask AI and Edit Text AI yet?
Yes. I've used the new recipes, which are awesome. And actually, we've leveraged some of the ChatGPT recipes to build upon, and we've deployed several AI integrations using that, trying to get up to speed on the new 9.3 stuff. Again, there's that, if you had 100 hours in a day, you could stay out in front of everything, but we're excited about that and where that's going. So it's good to see you guys out in front of that very quickly. Everywhere else you go, you get, put on the wait list and it's beta and we might get back with you. So I think the opportunity to get into that and to be able to talk to clients about that is huge, as opposed to, we're really not sure yet. We're on a wait list. So kudos.
That's great. That's great to know. And you've said a couple of times about, there's so many hours in the day to be able to get stuff. And you also mentioned that, you really appreciate us doing more by commenting on other people's feeds so they can pull up on your feed. If we start talking more in social about some of the things that, in smaller chunks, some of the release systems we're doing. Would that be helpful for you to see, at least be put in your feed so you can just start saving it, clicking it, and getting it at a later date? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, most definitely. And then, what works, what doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, vaporware out there that really doesn't, in the solutions we have to deploy they have to be industrial grade. I mean, we're running enterprises on these things. They can't break and oops, it answered it incorrectly or gave you bad information. I mean, that's my problem, not, the tool. So it's scary and exciting at the same point. So you want to minimize risk getting into these different tool sets, right?
Perfect. I do have another question though. And can you tell us more about this automation bot for a better world? What is that all about?
Yeah. I have a friend who I stole that from a good friend of mine. She has a company, believe it or not, that cans craft beer. So, I mean, she was an executive and got off into this, and it's like, wow, that's cool. She has a truck that goes around all these craft breweries and has a canning thing in the back, canning machine, and she cans beer for these breweries. So she has a program for every can of beer you can with us, we're going to donate X amount to charity. I was like, oh, that is cool. So can I steal that? She said, well, you can borrow it. I said, okay. So we brainstormed about it. So we have a program where we partner with our clients, and every time one of their bot runs, we donate $1 to charity of their choice. So we give them, I think we currently have 6 charities we partner with, but they can also pick their own. And, no cost or obligation from their perspective. It's just partnering with us that we can sponsor a specific targeted charity. That means a lot to them as well to, try to make the world a better place with our virtual workforce, I guess, if you will. I guess it's their United Way campaign.
Got it. No, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that you were on the news last year about so can you tell us more about that process, and what are you going to be on the news with this year?
Yeah, that was strange. It's funny business. You're running this way and something comes out of always, right? Never. So we were toying around. It's like, hey, we need to build an Alexa bot. It's like, okay, we can do that. What do you want to do? It's like, let's. I live on a lake, so let's build a bot that gives lake conditions. So we built the bot and stood it up. And I went to the little local lake paper reporter, probably has a circulation of about 500 people. And he said, oh, man, this is awesome. I'm going to go to the Roanoke Times. And they said, oh, man, this is awesome. I want to talk to you. Oh, I'm going to get the news involved. So we had news reporters, and all from one little practice use case. We only stood it up just to get experience with the tool and integrating with the Alexa development platform. And lo and behold, it kind of several newspaper articles and social media feeds later. And it was funny. I think there's probably 700-800 people using the automation now. And it actually, when you use it on an Alexa device, I forgot back here that has a screen, it says brought to you by Laketurn Automation. So it's a little marketing ploy, if you will. Every time you bring it up, your Laketurn, our logo, and intelligent automation. So hopefully that's getting us some exposure anyway, brand recognition, who knows, right?
All right. So what's your plans for this year?
All right. So we need to build a chat GPT bot that tells you which AI solutions to forget about and which ones to follow. So I think if we had that, we would have something. No, I don't know. We were toying with, we built a AI solution that responds to Outlook emails, all these emails you get for, do you need pest control? Do you need insert, inquiry here? And it actually, ElectroNeek, it'll read the inbox and say, use ChatGPT to respond back. We have no need for, insect removal services, as we're a virtual business. Who knows where things will go? We're always playing and toying with new things as we're a bunch of nerds, if you will, right? So
there you go. No, we appreciate that.
No, I appreciate the chance to chat with you guys. It's fun to get engaged on the marketing piece. That's probably one of our areas of opportunity right now. So
perfect. Wonderful. Well, we look forward to this. Thank you, Randy.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time. Look forward to working with you. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the ElectroNeek Podcast.